This is Nishi Shinjuku, directly south of the famous Shinjuku station. I bet most people have walked through it if they have visited Tokyo, since it is the home of the Metropolitan Building and various popular stores. I have been living here for a while, and in that time I have experienced two apartments. This is a $3,000 a month one-bedroom apartment, and this is a $1,500 a month studio apartment. The kicker, they are actually in the same exact building. They share many of the same stylings and amenities, but the moment you walk through their respective doors, the living experience diverges completely. Both of these pre-furnished units were secured on a 6-month lease, but through different companies. The premium $3,000 unit is managed by Blueground, a massive global provider that leans heavily into the higher-end corporate housing market. The $1,500 studio comes from Metroresidence, a very popular and reliable option for people looking for functional, no-nonsense furnished spaces in Tokyo. Today, we are going to do a complete breakdown of both to see exactly what that $1,500 monthly price gap buys you. Let's find out if doubling your rent in Shinjuku is actually worth the money. If you like my videos, then please like, comment, and subscribe for more content about retirement and living in Japan. We have a pretty active Discord community as well, and I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. We are starting with the $1,500 Metroresidence unit. Right when you step out of the elevator, you immediately understand the building's baseline. The hallway feels like a mid-tier Tokyo apartment building, but in my opinion feels less luxurious than the upper floors. When you unlock the door and step through the entrance, you're looking at exactly 30 square meters of living space. It is a classic, highly compact Tokyo studio layout. Metroresidence has it set up to handle the absolute bare essentials of daily life, but you immediately run into my biggest issue with cheap Tokyo apartments: the storage. There are piles of clutter waiting to happen because there are barely any built-in shelves or dedicated storage units for all my junk. Stuff. I find myself playing a daily guessing game of where to put my things. If you have extra luggage, boxes, or winter coats, you're going to feel the walls closing in fast, and your apartment will feel cluttered. I don't even have a dresser, so I'm at a loss of where to put my clothes that I don't have on hangers in the closet. Now let's jump up to the Blueground apartment. The difference starts before you even open the front door. The high floor hallway just feels nicer to me, and I think it's the darker colors that lead to a better ambiance. For $3,000 a month, you are getting 54 square meters, which doubles your physical footprint. Step inside and you're greeted by a long hallway, but more importantly, there is just so much more space for storage. The layout here is a true one-bedroom, physically separating your sleeping area from your living space, which is a massive psychological benefit if you work from home. Now, to be perfectly fair, the living room itself is a slightly odd, awkward triangular shape. It's not a perfect square, which makes furniture placement a bit of a puzzle. I know that from experience since I moved the desk from the bedroom to the living area while staying there. But the sheer volume of square footage completely changes the game in terms of where I can store my things. There are numerous little storage closets and shelves along with a dresser, which I definitely took for granted. Many monthly mansions I have had in the past don't include one, and it's really nice to have. I never felt like I was running out of storage, and that was a real relief at the time since I really dislike clutter. If you work from your apartment, this next segment is where the premium price tag really starts to justify itself more. The Blueground unit features a decently sized desk setup paired with a surprisingly supportive ergonomic desk chair. If you're sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day, this chair is an absolute lifesaver, and this is certainly the best office chair I've had in a monthly mansion. Moving over to the living area, it features a decent couch and a coffee table. There is a smart TV with native apps built right into the interface. You just pick up with a remote, turn it on, and you're streaming YouTube, Twitch, or Kick instantly. Everything just works right out of the box with zero issues. As stated before, this is a true one-bedroom unit. The bed is very comfortable and includes numerous pillows and extra linens. I feel like 2 people could very comfortably reside here as advertised. Honestly, the only downside some people might have to this setup is there is no TV in the bedroom, but that wasn't a concern for me personally. Down in the Metroresidence studio, daily living and productivity takes a noticeable hit. The desk is much smaller, barely fitting a laptop and a monitor. Worse yet is the chairs, basic and incredibly uncomfortable for long sessions. I feel like some people might not even call this a real couch, but either way the couch is a clear step down in quality and size. Being a studio, the bed shares space with the living area, and even the bed and pillows are notably less comfortable. I could feel the springs within a mattress here, and the pillows are some kind of hard foam, which doesn't work great for me, but might be good for some other people. Also, there is an air filter right next to the bed that runs all night, and can really get annoying if you need silence to sleep. A surprising issue down here was the TV setup. It's a cheaper model with no smart features. It has basic cable, but I usually watch YouTube, so I had to hook up my Xbox to it. Even then, the TV struggled hard with the resolution input. The aspect ratio was completely broken, and it took a while to troubleshoot that to the point where I was mostly happy with it. Although oddly, some games are still broken when I play them, so I probably need to mess with it a little more. The $3,000 unit gives you more prep space on the counters to chop vegetables and cook a real meal. 3 burners on the stove and a small fish grill are featured as your main cooking methods. You get a full-size refrigerator that can easily hold a week's worth of groceries, and the drawers are stocked with a large selection of high-quality matching cooking and eating utensils. There was also a designated eating space with a small table and a couple chairs, so you don't need to sit on the living room couch to eat dinner. In the Metroresidence studio, cooking means dealing with a bit of a cramped counter space and stovetop. Just 2 burners here and no grill. You get a smaller fridge that fills up noticeably faster, and you are provided with a smaller selection of utensils. However, both kitchens include similar hoods over the stove to exhaust the smoke, steam, and fumes of cooking. Both have pretty standard microwaves, and both of the stovetops are electric. Really, it just comes down to the size and variety of utensils provided that distinguish the 2 apartments from each other. Both kitchens get the job done, and in practice, I don't notice much of a difference while cooking. Let's talk about bathrooms, because this is where the luxury tier actually has some hidden value. In the Blueground bathroom, you have a fully automated Japanese tub filling system. You press a single button on the digital control panel, it fills itself to the perfect level, and it maintains that temperature for a while. Like many modern Japanese properties, the shower room can be used as a dryer, and it was pretty efficient and would dry my clothes after a few hours. There was a surprising amount of additional small cabinets for toiletries and cosmetics as well. In the Metroresidence studio bathroom, there is absolutely no automation here. You have to manually turn the dials and physically watch the faucet so the tub doesn't overflow. The entire bathroom and shower area is a tad smaller than the Blueground apartment, but one really surprising difference is the water temperature. It simply doesn't get nearly as hot as it does upstairs. If you like scalding hot showers, you're just out of luck. Again, this is the same building, so I never would have expected this difference. The linen supply is also sparser, with no extra sheets, and the towels provided are certainly made of cheaper material. A washer is included here as well, but it was a bit trickier to use, but that could totally have been just user error. However, the dryer in the shower room once again doesn't get as hot as upstairs. I can have my clothes in there for up to 9 hours and wake up to some parts still being slightly damp, and that is frustrating. Then we have the balcony situation. Up in the Blueground unit, the view of the city is absolutely stunning. You get that classic, sprawling high-rise Shinjuku skyline, which looks incredible at sunset and completely lights up the day. Ryogi Park and the forest around Meiji Jingu Shrine are easily visible, and you can even glimpse Shibuya Sky to the far right. But here's the catch, you can only enjoy it from behind the safety glass. There is explicit signage printed on the door warning you not to actually step out onto the balcony. The concrete ledge structure is simply too thin to stand on safely. It is a balcony that exists purely for aesthetic reasons, and it is a beautiful aesthetic to be sure, but it would have been nice to be able to hang out on the balcony and enjoy the sounds of the city and the nighttime air occasionally. Meanwhile, down in the cheaper Metroresidence unit, the situation completely reverses. The balcony door opens up, and you can step completely outside onto a small but reasonable balcony. It is totally safe to use, and no signage saying to keep out this time. You could easily stand out here and get some fresh air. The problem? Your view is much less inspiring. You are staring directly into another building across the road with only a glimpse of the superior Shinjuku skyline view to the right. Do you want a usable balcony with a subpar view, or do you want an incredible sweeping view of the city with no accessible balcony? It is certainly something to consider, and the view of the Blueground apartment was what sold me on it initially. Now, there is one area where your extra $1,500 a month buys you absolutely nothing: the common spaces. Both agencies share the exact same building amenities. The good news is, the baseline for this building is actually quite high. You get access to a secure bike garage, you get a very convenient 24-hour indoor garbage room, which is a massive luxury in Tokyo, so you don't have to worry about waking up early for strict neighborhood garbage schedules. You also get a modern mailroom equipped with automated electronic package lockers in case you aren't home when a package arrives. The front lobby is quite nice, and there's also a resident-only gym on site with a few treadmills and select weight machines. Though oddly enough, the free weights only go up to about 10 kilograms. But if you are not about that lifting life, this is still a great way to get some steps in on an air-conditioned treadmill during the heat of the summer. So, what is the ultimate verdict? Well, that's really up to you. Since both had a 6-month commitment, it really boils down to how much you value daily comfort and how much you value saving money. If you are a remote worker who values comfort, hates dealing with finicky appliances, desires a physical work versus sleep separation, or wants to look at a beautiful Tokyo skyline while you work, the premium is high, but one could argue that it is worth that price for the convenient comfort it supplies. But if you're just looking for a solid, functional home base in the heart of Shinjuku, you plan to spend most of your time out exploring the city, and you don't mind a few basic compromises on chair comfort and TV resolutions, and not having the hottest possible water, Then saving that cash with Metroresidence puts over $9,000 back in your pocket over the course of the 6-month lease. In Tokyo, $9,000 buys a lot of incredible food, travel, and experiences, so it's something to consider. Which property in the building would you choose? I know many of you would enjoy life outside the big city as well, so what would your ideal property look like? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. As regular viewers know, my videos are not approved for monetization from YouTube, so if you like the content and would like to support its creation, please consider checking out my Ko-fi or Patreon, although I am still looking to try and detangle the AdSense problem at some point. The Discord has been going great lately though, so please join if you want to chat about Japan, travel, finances, careers, or just your hobbies as they relate to Japan. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.